Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is VIN1563 at the request of a viewer. This is a 2016 083, which is ultra white, white with gold flake, with LA30 interior, which is the red interior with standard carbon fiber trim. Now, this popped up on Facebook Marketplace and in some of the for sale groups as testing waters. And I don't like those kind of posts because, you know, they're not really serious about selling it unless somebody's going to give them a bunch of money or, you know, overpay for it, basically is what they're looking for. And I don't, like I said, I don't like those. It's a 2016 for sale in California with 51,000 miles for $60,000. And it's obviously modified. It has either BBS wheels or TE37s or stock wheels. I don't know which it's going to come with. At one point it had a carbon fiber hood. Now it's back on the factory hood, has a black roof, has some Tom's Aero kit, some other things. So the description is poor, and there's also not very many photos. So I'm only going off of what I can see and previous posts and for sale photos by the seller. Production information. White with red is the most common color combination on these cars. So out of the 2,348 cars, 648 of these were 083 ultra white. Of those 648, 360 cars had the LA30 interior. So 360 that exist for the US, 49 everywhere except Hawaii with this color combination. Specific for 2016, there are 371 cars out of the 1,418 that were ultra white. And of those 371, 212 had LA30 red interior. So this car is one of 212, the most common color combination that you will find on these cars. If you see a white car pop up for sale, pretty good chance it has a red interior. So this is no exception. Carfax, Epic VIN, and AutoCheck. Carfax and AutoCheck both show this as a 4-owner, no accident car. Epic VIN shows this as a 4-owner, no accident car. So I think it is safe to assume this is a 4-owner, no accident car. So previous sales, it was first on sale, it looks like in either March or April of 2016, and it was still for sale in July of 2016, $88,000 in California. Still for sale in September of 2016 for $88,000, but it now has 5,500 miles on it, probably a dealer demo or the manager drove it for a while. And it finally sold about 6 months after it was first put on sale. September of 2019, it popped up at CarMax, $54,000 with 23,000 miles in California. And then it looks like it was moved to the Las Vegas area, Henderson, Nevada, at AutoNation in March of 2020, $50,000 with 26,000 miles. So 3,000 more miles and 4,000 less dollars. End of 2019, beginning of 2020. That was the cheapest you were ever going to find these cars with that kind of mileage, and this is definitely evident of that. This car's been up for a little bit, and so I didn't catch it until somebody had sent it to me. This car looks like it was first listed for sale in September of 25, and here it is in October of 25. It's still listed, but he's testing the waters, and like I said, I hate those, but here it is, $60,000, 51,000 miles. So now onto the photos. It looks stock under hood, so it's not, you know, no Tom's braces or intake elbow, no superchargers, anything like that. It looks like it has an aftermarket steering wheel. It has some obviously aero on the outside. It has 2 or 3 different sets of wheels. You'll have to figure out which set of wheels the car is coming with. Does it come with the BBS wheels? Does it come with the TE37s, the white wheels, or does it come with stock wheels? The car looks lowered, and so because it's lowered, something you should keep in mind, unless it has adjustable suspension links, being lowered, you are going to wear out the insides of your front and rear tires unless it has that. So something to keep in mind, if you do buy this car, I would probably make sure you get the stock springs with it in the sale in case you want to return it to stock ride height, or make sure it has adjustable suspension links. If it doesn't, it needs it, otherwise put it back on stock height. It has some other things like the carbon fiber fender vent accents. It has a black either wrapped or painted roof, and it looked like at one time it had a carbon fiber hood, but the original photo that was from the listing, it back to the white hood. So I don't know what hood it comes with. I don't know what wheels it comes with. It's not specified in the listing. To the extent of the mods that the car has, it's not on the listing either. So for the price, it's definitely priced high. And these testing the waters posts are always like that. This car with that mileage should probably be somewhere around 50 grand, 50, 52. Depending on how much value you want to add to the modifications. Let's assume this car was stock, it had no modifications, then it would be 50 to 52,000. So adjust accordingly, plus or minus for the mods. The mods don't add any value to me. To some people it may, but that's where I would put it. Needs better photos. There's just the one, it's like a quick pan video of the interior, and it doesn't really show you much because it's filtered. So look at the interior for the carbon fiber trim delamination, look at the seat bolsters, things like that, the usual things that you would look at on these cars, but definitely needs better photos. So on to the service history. I wouldn't call this a red flag, but this car is also not well dealer serviced. The last service was about 2.5 years ago, June of 2023 at 43,000 miles ago. So it's only like 8,000 miles in 2.5 years, but that is the last time it's been serviced. So the first entry of note, January of 17, the check engine light was on. It looks like it just ended up being a loose gas cap. You do see that quite a bit on these cars. January of 2018, the low pressure fuel pump was reprogrammed for the humming or buzzing. So again, that's good to see. July of 2018, the JLB recall, the parts were ordered, but they weren't actually installed until October of 2019. So like a year and a half later, not quite a year and a half. And then there's a 4-year gap in the service. And then you have June 2023, which is the last service, 43,000 miles. The rear differential was serviced and the transmission was serviced. So good to see that, but you have a 4-year gap, you have that, and then you have another 2.5-year gap. There's nothing else on the Carfax, so unless it's done DIY or it's done at a third-party mechanic, an independent mechanic that doesn't report to Carfax. But I would say not well serviced unless the owner can prove otherwise that certain services have been done. So things not seen. Brakes. Nothing about brakes, nothing about tires, but obviously it has aftermarket wheels on it, so maybe those are recent. But brakes, these cars always need brakes. Every 20 to 30,000 miles, you're gonna be replacing front brakes. Rears, every 40 to 50,000. This car's at 50,000 miles. Things that are coming up soon, 60,000 mile service. That's belts, hoses, transmission and diff are already done, but you know, that's part of that service. Other things, valley plate. Don't see any evidence of the valley plate being replaced. This is getting right around that age. It's heat cycles and time. It's not necessarily the mileage on these cars that affects that. So valley plate hasn't been done unless it can be proven. Front lower control arm bushings, as always, but this car being lowered, you have more to worry about with making sure it has adjustable front and rear arms or links to make sure you don't wear out the insides of the tires. This car's had so little miles put on it in the last 2.5 years that would be something that may not even come up because it doesn't have a lot of miles put on it. So you're not gonna be wearing out the tires that fast, but in 8,000 miles, you definitely could. Don't see anything about the HVAC servo sweep, which is basically reprogramming the minimum and maximum. So if you're gonna go look at this car, set everything one side to cold, one side to hot, go through everything, the defrost, the head, the feet, the rear, and then switch it, make sure that works. But I think this car, between the lack of the service history, the poor description, the poor photos, for the price, I would absolutely not even consider this car. Now, if it was like 50 to 52,000, I might start looking, but then I'd dig further and say, hey, you know, give me some better photos, what all the mods are included, what wheels are going to be with the car, what hood is going to be on the car. You know, there's a lot of questions on this one. So I don't know. For me, I'd probably look elsewhere. And you know, it is a clean title, no accident car, so it has that going for it. It is a California car. There's a lot of green flags, but there's also a few red ones. So I don't know. If it were me, I would probably keep looking, especially at this price. If the price goes lower, maybe it may be on my radar, but for right now, it's not. So anyway, that's what I've got for you guys. VIN 1563. I wish I had more on it, but that's what I've got. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon.